It's time for the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Each week, Trading Stocks Made Easy demystifies stock trading and investing so you can profit big. And now, here's the host of Trading Stocks Made Easy, the wealthy investor, Tyrone Jackson.
Well, hello there. It's Tyrone Jackson, a wealthy investor, and you know how much I appreciate you being here for another episode of Trading Stocks Made Easy. And let me tell you something. Today, you are in for a treat. I rarely say this on the show, but I'm going to say it now. I have like a star student. This guy is a star. And most of you know, we've just got back from our big Maui 2022 event, which was a huge, it went even better than I thought. And I stunned them with some amazing trades, but we'll cover that later on. One of the people that I'm truly happy to have in the Wealthy Investor Program is just a star student with an aerospace background, and his name is Randy Pete. And he is on the line and joining us for this episode of Trading Stocks Made Easy. Randy, how are you?
I am great, Tyrone. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I understand you've listened to the show, and now you're on it. How does it feel?
Oh, it's incredible. I've been listening for over 3 years. I've listened to every podcast, I'd say at least a half a dozen times, and it's my pleasure to be on it finally with you.
Well, thank you. Have you recuperated from our little Maui trip?
I'm getting there.
Yeah?
Yep, that was amazing. Yep.
Now, for those of you listening at home, part of what I did when we were in Maui was not only teach these strategies, but I really wanted people in the audience to see that real people can do really well. So we had about 3 people on the panel who were hand-selected by me, who just have, not only the great trading skills, but also the heart. And didn't mind sharing their experience. And Randy, you were one of them, and you became famous at that conference after you were on the panel. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
Right. So in the media, we call it, when people crowd you afterwards, we call it the beehive. There were all these people standing around you. But let's get back to your experience. How did you find the Wealthy Investor Program? Because you started out, and your primary profession is in the aerospace business, correct?
Exactly, yes. I worked in the aerospace industry for a little over 40 years, and I had about a half an hour commute to go to work each day. And one day I was at work talking to some of the people that worked for me, and I was talking about listening to the radio, and I was telling them I'm sick of listening to the same old things, and someone said, well, you should listen to a podcast. And I go, well, what's a podcast? And so they explained it to me, and then I started listening, and I go, okay, this stuff's cool, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to listen to something that I'm interested in. So I started listening to financial investing talk shows, and found a couple guys down here in San Diego, but it was the same thing as, watching CNN or that kind of stuff. It didn't really teach you anything, just talked about the market. And so I just kept looking and looking and looking. And finally I came across Mr. Tyrone Jackson. And after about 2 minutes of listening to it, because I don't know if you even know this, Tyrone, but 30 years ago, I did this. I did cover calls. I did, options. And after 2 minutes, I go, oh my God, that's what I did wrong. You started talking about stocks, nothing less than $50 in Dow stocks, and I'm going, oh my God, that's why I lost my money back then, and it's just been crazy ever since.
Well, you are amazing because you've had incredible success. So you've discovered the Wealthy Investor approach. We sell cover calls on S&P and Dow components. When did you realize that this methodology fit for you? As you said, you had traded many years ago, but when did you realize that this discipline fit you in its totality?
Well, when I first started, I did my first trade. I did it on Coca-Cola, did a couple hundred shares, made $70, and it all brought everything back to me. And I'm going, okay, this is great. And then I started doing the covered calls, really sticking to the system and listening to what you said and following those guidelines. And the second month I made so much money that I'm going, oh, this is incredible. And once I understood the system and started practicing what you said and doing my covered calls on only good Dow stocks, the money started coming in, and it didn't take me long to convince my wife of the success of the program, and from there on, we haven't looked back.
Well, you haven't, because I think you paid off your house and you bought you bought a motor home. I mean, you are really living the life.
Yes, I did. It paid off my house in 10 months, and it was over $200,000. So that was amazing. Paid my cars off. Basically made it. I was planning on retiring in about 2 years from now, and I actually retired last year in August 1st of last year. So you helped me retire 3 years early.
Oh, geez,
so I'm really
thank you.
thankful for that.
You're very welcome.
Yep.
Okay, so I want to get into the mechanics, because I really want people to understand how powerful this is. You know, I ordinarily, Randy, and you know this, I have to work with people on their mindset, their belief system about what is possible. Did you really have to work on, a lot of your perception about the world and the market and how much money you can actually make? Or was it because you were inherently a numbers guy, you were just able to follow a formula? How did that work for you?
I think it's a little bit of both. Following the numbers, of course, because of the engineering background, that made it real simple. I've got spreadsheets that I just plug things in. It tells me if it's good or not, and I do it, and it's just following your system. But the mindset thing, I've tried so many different businesses, so many different multi-level marketing. I've been in everything, and because of that, I had to kind of slow roll my wife on this. I actually took one of my small IRA accounts and started trading in it once I got approved to do my covered calls, and started making money to be able to show her that I could do this. And after a little while, I started making some really good money. Started showing my wife, and it actually took one of my grandsons to graduate high school, and we took him on a Caribbean cruise, and I paid for it, the trip with my covered call money. Once I did that, my wife just said, okay, this is obviously it's real. You can take money out. You're making money. And she gave the blessing to move all of the money from a third party that we used to have handle our money, and it didn't even take me 2 months, and I made more than what they made the whole entire year previously that they did. So, yeah, that, and along with just understanding that this is all real, it's all money that can be there for us to make, and not be greedy about it, and just practice and become methodical on it. So definitely works.
Well, that is really cool. Now in Maui, when you were on the panel, right, and we were talking, you're the kind of guy who doesn't get hung up on mistakes. Like, you learn really quickly, you correct, and you move on. And I remember when you were on the panel, someone raised their hand and said, well, how do you guys handle losses, right? Because everybody has this notion of I'm just going to trade, and every single stock that I own is constantly going to rise. And we all know, as experienced traders, you're not going to get every stock to rise. There'll be an earnings announcement and it'll pivot and go in the other direction. And one of the things I love when you said on the panel, you were like, well, a couple of $10,000 mistakes, and I knew not to do that anymore, right? And you didn't get hung up on the money that you lost. You just moved forward. How is it whenever you have to take a loss, because we all have to take a loss, that you just are able to move forward? What is that process like for you?
Tyrone, it definitely hurts, especially when you have to, swallow a $10,000 change in the market. But it's like you teach us, it's something that happens, and you just gotta roll with it and understand. Even though I took a $10,000 ding on that trade, it only took me, a month and a half to make that money back. So, it's a hard lesson to learn, but you just got to know that that you've got the opportunity to make that money back. Doesn't matter what kind of downturn, you've got to have the patience. You've got to have the mindset that says, hey, you know what, it's better. It didn't go to zero like it did 30 years ago, because I picked bad stocks. I'm in good stocks. They had a little hiccup. We had a huge earning. It jumped up 20 some bucks overnight, and there was nothing I could do about it. So, I bit the bullet, bought it back, and moved on, and just started plugging away, following the system, and it doesn't take me long to make that money back. So
that is correct.
Thanks again.
Listen, you're very welcome. You just execute so well without a lot of noise in your head. What would you say to our audience, right, who are also trading, and many of them trading covered calls and collecting dividends? What are your thoughts? I always say stocks that do not pay a dividend go in a higher risk category, right? And over the past 24 months, some people loaded up on all these stocks that didn't pay a dividend. For those of you who are a little bit more conservative, when the market had its negative reaction, you didn't get, hurt quite as much. What's your view on dividend-paying stocks versus non-dividend-paying stocks? You've been in the market for a while.
Yep. My preference is always the dividend-paying stock, just like you just said. Mm-hmm. You look at Apple, we've gone through a huge downturn. A lot of the fancy, shiny objects like Chewy and Pinterest, those things went down 75%. Apple, lucky it went down 20%. Mm-hmm. And just working with the dividend-paying stocks, it's just better, especially in a situation I am. Now that I'm retired, I live off of this income. I take a really good monthly income. It's probably, half again as much as I made when I was in the aerospace industry, which was a very good salary. And I just do it all on those dividend stocks and just loving life.
And I always say to people, dividends are your reward for trading well. Do you have your dividends come in as income, or do you reinvest them in the stock market?
Well, it's a combination of both. I don't have the check sent to me, but because I take out such a large amount every month,
right,
it's just like having them sent home.
Right, because it's part of your monthly draw.
Yeah.
Right. I totally got you. And because I teach a lot of people, like if you're, I have several couples that I work with, and this is how they live their retirement, right? So we're very disciplined. I usually have them put money in a separate account. And when they're trading, they're replenishing that checking account, right? So if they need $10,000 a month and they're making $15,000 in trades, they're always putting that $15,000 back into that checking account, and they just draw off of that. So it doesn't put any pressure on their trade. They're not tempted to make silly trading positions. But the other thing about you, Randy, and I've always wanted to ask you this, you are great on both sides of the trade. In other words, you can set up cover calls, match it with a bear call spread, and take the income from both ends of those trades. And you never really stumbled in your comprehension. Why is that?
I think it's just because I've been in the market for a long time, and I've understood this stuff. But until I met you and started going through your system, and I think I've told you this before, I am a student. Not only have I gone through the podcast a half a dozen times each, couple hundred, getting close to a couple hundred now.
Goodness.
But I've also, I'm in it. Every aspect of your program. I've been online since the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And, when I found that I could go back and listen to the old recordings, I've probably gone through all your recordings probably 10 times each. And one of the things that I like to do, and I actually tell everybody that I meet and everybody that's online, that every month I go back to the very beginning and I look for August. And I go, okay, I'm going to listen to everything in August for 2016, 2017, 2018. And I just go over and over and listen to everything. And every time I go through it, I find something different. And I listen to how you taught it that year. And, it just helps me become a better trader. just with all the knowledge that you have for us.
Which is so funny because, the way that I learn is through repetition. So if I'm practicing a new trade, I go through it over and over and over and over, almost at a point of just ridiculousness, right? And so that I'm able to explain it back to you. And it's so funny you mentioned August because we're in August 2022 right now. And we know that the last 2 weeks of August, never to expect a robust market because ever since, unfortunately, 9/11, right, we know the market is going to pull back just a little bit because no one wants to say, look at all the money that I made while we're going through this national day of mourning. So, in other words, if I hear you correctly, you know how to tailor your trades for a late August slowdown. I don't mean a major pullback, but a late August slowdown because you kind of obey that historical trend. Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly correct. That's what I'm looking for. It's just to understand what the trades are during this particular time of year. So I slow down. Volatility trading goes out the window, and I look at bear call spreads and my covered calls, and that's what I stick with.
Absolutely amazing. Hey, listen, today we're talking to the amazing Randy Peat, a real student and master of the Wealthy Investor Program, and we're happy to have him. And we'll come back with more Randy Peat right after this.
Want to increase your stock market trading profits? Then you need to start your monthly membership to WITradeschool.com right now. Don't understand how to write covered calls for monthly income? No problem. Simply review Tyrone's latest stock trades in our video library as many times as you need. WITradeschool.com is all about helping you get the financial education you need to earn money in the stock market and change your financial life. Tyrone Jackson, the wealthy investor, has helped his students earn thousands of dollars per month trading stocks online from home. These are people just like you. So what are you waiting for? Follow Tyrone Jackson's red-hot stock trades and investment strategies today. Don't wait. Start your monthly membership at WITradeschool.com right now.
Yes, so if you have never visited thewealthyinvestor.net and downloaded the free ebook on stock trading, something is wrong. What are you waiting for? Today is the time. All right, I'm thrilled to have on the line today star student and really star in Maui, Randy Peat, who's sharing with us how he incorporates the Wealthy Investor approach into his trading. So, Randy, I was saying to you during the commercial break, I just really want people to get a sense of the mechanics, that you're not just doing the same thing over and over and over. So, in our program, we have something called your cash account, and that's the one that you're referring to when you say you take your monthly draw. You also have a retirement account. Are you practicing the sweep in your retirement account?
Absolutely. I actually have, between my wife and I, we have 4 retirements, 2 Roth and 2 normal IRAs. So,
okay.
Yep.
And so in those accounts, you're not actively trading. You're selling 3 to 4 week covered calls primarily on Dow. Is that how that works?
Yeah.
And you do
correct.
that. And you do that on 4 accounts, Randy?
Yes. Yep. I sure do.
That is amazing. So let me ask you this. To stay organized, right? Do you have a certain time of day that you trade? So you start at 10, you're done by 12. How do you manage your time?
So for me, now that I'm retired, it doesn't really matter. I can do it pretty much any time. But what I do is I'm, again, an engineer, so I have spreadsheets on every one of my accounts, every trade I've ever created. I've got profit and loss on each one, which the losses don't happen very often. And I record all of that on Saturday mornings. Usually takes me an hour or so to get through there's actually 5 accounts because of I have a corporate account that I trade my cash in. And I record all that so that I have all of it. And then I also, during that time, I plan out my trades for the following week. So on Saturday, when I get done recording, I figure out what I'm going to do on Monday morning, usually around, 8 o'clock or so. I'm usually in there and make my trades. Usually takes me probably half an hour to do all 5 accounts, and I'm done. I'm done for the week.
Right.
So Nothing to it.
And where do you stand on volatility trading? We all know the money we can make cover call writing. Are there ever times on like a Thursday where you say, oh, that stock's up 1%. Let me go in and see if I can make a quick $1 uptick?
Absolutely. And I did exactly what you said. So I would go in at, a quarter, 15 minutes before the market closed. I'd do my buy, and then I'd place my sell price. And then I have a special ringtone on my phone. And the next morning on my drive to work, because I'd leave my house around 6, about the time I got to work, if the trade was successful, I'd get this little magic tone, and I'd go, yes, another volatility trade successful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love doing it.
And it's so funny because you also come to the live class in LA. So we have live classes in New York and LA. And I always notice the people who are high functioning traders, you all sit at the same table most of the time. I won't name any names, but you have your favorite people to sit next to. And you guys are able to mastermind and move through trades really quickly with totally sound reasoning. A lot of people think of stock market trading as something that they do at home alone. And you're making all this money, but yet you show up for the group experience. What's the value in that?
Well, the biggest thing is just like-minded people. I mean, I've talked to my friends. I've actually got a few of my friends involved in this, but it's hard to talk to people that don't understand the concept of the stock market and how you can make money if you follow a proven system. And going up there to those meetings and meeting people that are doing the same things, and especially the new people, they come and they listen to what you say, and especially when they're brand new, it just goes over their heads so quickly. So I like to spend the time. I'm kind of like you. I love helping people, and I'll spend as much time as I can to help people understand the system and how to do it, and make sure that you keep to it in all of what you say.
And I find that that's really important, that you're not just making decisions at home. And for those of you who've never been in a group trading environment, like, you learn things from other people's perspective. Even if you say, I would never do that, it's still important to be in dialogue around your trades. Now, Randy, one of the tenets of the Wealthy Investor Program is, and I smile as I say this, is helping other people, right? So I always say, if I help you make a lot of money, make a list of who you would help. You mentioned earlier in the show, I think it was your grandson graduating and going on a cruise. Have you been able to help other people because, money's flowing quite nicely?
Absolutely. I have 10 grandchildren, and I've made a deal with every one of them. First thing I did was just open up their accounts, and I transferred some of my long-term holds over to each of them. And then I told every one of them that for every dollar you give me, I will match it 100%. So I have one grandson, and he took it to heart, and he has given me so much money.
Really?
And he's given me enough that we are actively trading, selling covered calls in his account. And my goal is, by the time all of my grandkids are in their late 20s, that each one of them are a millionaire from these accounts. So they're all actively doing it, and I just can't be more proud of them and the system that we've been able to teach them.
Wow, that is fantastic. That's really fantastic. I love the fact that, because, I always say when it comes to financial education, you can't teach a financial education, or you can't pass it on if you don't have one. So you're really building, legacy wealth for your entire family, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so much so that I have my youngest son, he listened to what I was talking. He listens when we're on the phone making our monthly calls. And next thing I know, he has an account set up. He's been approved to trade, but he's a little gunslinger. He kind of goes off with some wild things. And I keep telling him, if you don't stick to exactly what Tyrone says, then I'm going to skip you, and because it's his oldest son.
Okay.
That's that's the one that understands it.
Okay.
And I told him, if you don't stick to the program, I'm going to skip you, and he's going to take care of all the money in the company when I pass on.
You try to keep him in line, Randy. You try to keep him in line.
Exactly.
You got a little wild cowboy there. That's what's going on.
Yes, I do.
Hey, Randy, we're running out of time, but January of this year, when inflation really started to rise, and the Fed said inflation is out of control, and we're going to have to raise interest rates, the stock market reacted in a major way. In fact, in a way I just hadn't seen in 20 years, a major pullback. How did you survive that? Fortunately, we're in retracement right now. How did you survive that period and adapt so well?
The simplest question is listening to you and going to the live events.
Okay.
Every time we have a major correction or something changes, I go to another live event. You're explaining something new, and the light bulbs just go on. Okay, it's time to switch over to bear call spreads now. Forget the covered calls. Let's not own stock. Let's do bear call spreads with our options.
Mm-hmm.
And it just made it. My income starts going down, and then I get to go to another live event, listen to you, go home, start practicing it, and all of a sudden, bam, my income's back up with where I need it to be, and life's good.
And I don't know, listen, I come from the creative world. When we're happy, we hug each other. And every time I see you, I say, I got to hug you. And you're like, okay, all right, you could do the hug thing. But I got to tell you, when I taught the pay to leave, you remember that maybe about 4 months ago?
Yeah.
And you were like, this is great. And I think it was like on AMD, you had tried to leave twice through covered calls, and you kept taking these incredible premiums. And the next month I saw you, after you were finally called out, you were like, I got that income right back up even though the market was falling. And I was like, this guy just gets everything, right? So you feel equipped, and none of us really feel totally safe. You just have to play the market as it's evolving. But after that experience, I can imagine you now have the confidence if we ever went through a pullback again, you know what to do, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's huge. I mean, when you understand what to do when the market starts falling, and if you can figure it out, it's all we do is just plug and play our different set of rules and just move on.
Yeah.
Like you said, we've only got to select a number of trades that we do. And it's just understanding when to use what. And, with you teaching us, it makes it very easy to do it.
Well, you also get a live comedy show when you come in. I mean, a lot of people always go, you're so funny. I can't believe for 3 hours, it doesn't come up across on the podcast. But I use humor to kind of level the playing field so people don't feel quite as disappointed, if every trade doesn't go the way that they want. So we do have a lot of fun there, and I use a lot of storytelling, and you're always right there. And I just got to tell you, I appreciate it so much. I am so thrilled for not only you and your family and how you're passing it on. You're just a model student. So thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your experience. There's somebody listening out there going, well, he's an aerospace guy. Of course, he's great with numbers. What would you say to that person who thinks maybe, I'm not sure I could really excel as a stock market trader? You would say what?
I would just say go for it. Okay. It doesn't matter if you're aerospace, doesn't matter if you're an artist. You've got a system in place that takes you step by step through this stuff. And, like you always said, there's tons of different platforms out there that people trade in, but the basics of what to do, you've got it step by step. Anybody can follow it. My grandkids can follow it. And all you have to do is, if you don't understand how to make a trade, which is, the first scary thing that people do, just like you say, pick up the phone, call your stockbroker and say, I need to learn how to do a covered call. Walk me through this. And they do. So get out there and do it. That's all I can say.
Just get out there and do it. Randy Pete, thank you so much. Yep. Enjoy the rest of your month. I'll be seeing you next month because we have August off. And I thank you for being here today, okay?
It's my pleasure, Tyrone, and thank you.
You're welcome. All right, back with some final notes on stock market trading and wealth building right after this.
Want to increase your stock market trading profits? Then you need to start your monthly membership to WITradeschool.com right now. Don't understand how to write covered calls for monthly income? No problem. Simply review Tyrone's latest stock trades in our video library as many times as you need. WITradeschool.com is all about helping you get the financial education you need to earn money in the stock market and change your financial life. Tyrone Jackson, the wealthy investor, has helped his students earn thousands of dollars per month trading stocks online from home. These are people just like you. So what are you waiting for? Follow Tyrone Jackson's red-hot stock trades and investment strategies today. Don't wait. Start your monthly membership at WITradeschool.com right now.
Hey, it's Tyrone Jackson, and welcome back. I hope you really got something out of today's episode with star student Randy P. I have noticed that certain people do have a disposition for trading in the stock market and making a lot of money. I think you are one of them. So when you listen to the guests on the show, I hope that you find some similarity between them and yourselves. You know, we went through a period there where we didn't have a lot of guests on because we were in the middle of COVID. No one wanted to come to the studio and do a podcast, but that period seems to be a little bit behind us. And I know because so many of you tell me you enjoy the student interviews, and I really want you to get to know some of our guests. Come meet us live and in person, because stock market trading is amazing. But you know, it does require a financial education. It does require a leap of faith, and it does require that you at least begin developing a millionaire mindset. So the question today is, do you deserve to be a millionaire in the stock market and earn $50,000 a month every single month? The answer is yes, everyone deserves it. It just requires that you keep an open mind and take the right actions. If you're willing to study, you will change not only your life, but your families as well. I thank you for spending this time with me on this particular episode of Trading Stocks Made Easy, and I'll see you not only at thewealthyinvestor.net, but I'll see you right here next time. Take care.
You've been listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Be sure to rate and review our show on iTunes. While you're on iTunes, be sure to click the subscribe button and you'll automatically receive our next episode.